The Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest covers an area of 7 million square kilometers and is the biggest rainforest on Earth, extending to more than 9 nations: Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. Around 60% of the Amazon woods lie in Brazil, and the other 40% has a place with nations previously referenced. The Amazon rainforest has an incredibly high biodiversity, and numerous species have not yet been depicted. Assessments of the quantity of plant and creature species fluctuate broadly. As per a new distribution by the World Untamed Life Asset, WWF, the Amazon rainforest contains around 40,000 plant species, 427 well-evolved creature species, 1294 bird species, 378 types of reptiles, 427 types of creatures of land and water, and 3,000 types of fish. These are the least figures, as new species are consistently being found. The Amazon rainforest is described by elevated degrees of precipitation. Thus, the scene is green consistently. The Amazon rainforest can be partitioned into various vegetation types. The biggest part comprises land firme backwoods, or dry land. This sort of Amazonian timberland that isn't yet upset by people is overwhelmed by trees, which can develop as high as 50 m, and as a result of the absence of light, the vegetation of the woodland floor is open and open. Other than land firme, the Amazonian district has two kinds of backwoods that are occasionally immersed: the Agapo woodland and the Várzea timberland. The Agapo woods comprise plant species developing along the dark water streams that have high groupings of humic corrosive, which decide a particular sort of vegetation around it. The Várzea woods develop along the white water streams that convey fruitful residue from the volcanic Andes Mountains, and has the most noteworthy convergence of species variety of Amazonia. Deforestation is the main danger to the Amazon rainforest. The greater part of the deforestation happens unlawfully, and the Brazilian government has enormous troubles in executing the condition of regulation in the Amazon bowl on account of the huge distances to be covered. The challenges in safeguarding the Amazon rainforest from deforestation cause an irreversible loss of significant compound and organic data, which is major for the information on this wild patrimony, and consequently for its protection and manageable use. For instance, the substantial variety of plant types in this district is a strong wellspring of natural mixtures helpful in growing new medications. Under the ocean. Did you have any idea that there are in excess of 1 million different living species in the sea? Furthermore, researchers figure there might try and be millions of additional that they haven't found at this point. An animal type is a gathering of living creatures, like jellyfish or whales. In the sea, the biggest creature on the planet, the blue whale, lives close by minuscule zooplankton, which is really comprised of numerous creatures so little you can't see them without a magnifying lens. To make it more straightforward to find out about countless various types of sea creatures, researchers have separated them into classifications. Sharks and beams. There are more than 450 types of sharks in the sea, and they range in size from 8 crawls to 40 feet in length. Sharks have been around since before dinosaur times, and they are at the head of the sea well-established pecking order. The incredible white shark is known as the riskiest to people. Extraordinary white sharks have sharp teeth, are around 12 feet in length, and can weigh 3,000 pounds. Beams, for example, stingrays and manta beams, are connected with sharks. They have huge, three-sided wings that move them through the water, and are probably the biggest creatures in the sea. Marine well-evolved creatures. Marine well-evolved creatures incorporate dolphins, whales, polar bears, and ocean otters. A significant number of these creatures are cherished by individuals and known to be exceptionally clever. Dolphins might be prepared to do stunts, for example, flips, tail strolling, and going through arbitrary tasks. The biggest marine well-evolved creature, and the biggest known creature on the planet, is the blue whale. A grown-up blue whale is generally up to a ball court and weighs however much around 2,700 people put. Remote ocean fish will be fish that live in the murkiness underneath the sunlit surface waters, that is beneath the epipelagic or photic zone of the ocean. The lanternfish is, by a long shot, the most widely recognized remote ocean fish. Other remote ocean fishes incorporate the spotlight fish, cookie-cutter shark, bristlemouths, anglerfish, viperfish, and a few types of eelpout. Just around 2% of realized marine species occupy the pelagic climate. This implies that they live in the water section rather than the benthic organic entities that live in or on the ocean floor. Remote ocean creatures by and large occupy bathopelagic, 10004000 mobile profound, and abyssopelagic, 40006000 mobile profound, zones. Notwithstanding, attributes of remote ocean organic entities, for example, bioluminescence should be visible in the mesopelagic, 200100 mobile profound, zone also. The mesopelagic zone is the dysphotic zone. It is insignificant yet quantifiable to mean light there. The oxygen least layer exists somewhere close to a profundity of 700 m and 1000 m profound, relying upon the spot in the sea. This region is likewise where supplements are generally plentiful. The bathopelagic and abyssopelagic zones are aphotic, implying that no light enters this region of the sea. These zones make up around 75% of the inhabitable sea space. The epipelagic zone, 0-200 m, is the region where light enters the water and photosynthesis happens. This is otherwise called the photic zone. Since this ordinarily broadens 200 or 300 meters beneath the water, the remote ocean, around 90% of the sea volume, is in murkiness. The remote ocean is likewise an incredibly unfriendly climate, with temperatures that seldom surpass 3 degrees Celsius 37 degrees Fahrenheit and fall as low as -1.8 degrees Celsius 29 degrees Fahrenheit, except for aqueous vent biological systems that can surpass 350 degrees Celsius or 662 degrees Fahrenheit, low oxygen levels, and tensions somewhere in the range of 20 and 1000 atm, somewhere in the range of 2 and 100 MPa. As a fish moves further into the ocean, the heaviness of the water above applies to press the fish. This expanded strain adds up to around 1 atm for each 10 m top to bottom. For a fish at the lower part of the bathopelagic zone, this strain adds up to around 400 atm, almost 6,000 pounds for every square inch. Remote ocean creatures have variations at the cell and physiological levels that permit them to make do in conditions of extraordinary tension. Not having these transformations restricts the profundities at which shallow water species can work. Elevated degrees of outer tension influences how metabolic cycles and biochemical responses continue. The harmony of numerous synthetic responses is upset by endless tension that can hinder processes that bring about an expansion in volume. Water, a critical part of numerous organic cycles, is truly powerless to volume changes, primarily in light of the fact that constituents of cell liquid affect water structure. In this way, enzymatic responses that prompt changes in water association really change the framework's volume. Proteins answerable for catalyzing responses are commonly kept intact by powerless bonds, and the responses for the most part include volume increments. To adjust to this change, the protein construction and response standards of remote ocean fish have been adjusted to endure tension to perform responses in these circumstances. In high-tension conditions, bilayer cell films experience a deficiency of ease. Remote ocean cell layers favor phospholipid bilayers with a higher extent of unsaturated fats, which prompts a higher ease than their ocean-level partners. The rat-tail Coryphenoidus armatus, deep grenadier, on the Davidson Seamount at 2,253 m profundity. Remote ocean species show lower changes of entropy and enthalpy contrasted with superficial creatures, since a high strain and low temperature climate favors negative enthalpy changes and diminished reliance on entropy-driven responses. From a primary stance, globular proteins of remote ocean fish, because of the tertiary construction of G-actin, are somewhat inflexible contrasted with those of superficial fish. The way that proteins in remote ocean fish are fundamentally not the same as surface fish is clear from the perception that actin from the muscle strands of remote ocean fish is very heat-safe, a perception like what is tracked down in reptiles. These proteins are primarily fortified by adjustment of the bonds in the tertiary construction of the protein, which likewise ends up prompting elevated degrees of warm security. Proteins are basically reinforced to oppose strain by adjustment of bonds in the tertiary design. Along these lines, elevated degrees of hydrostatic tension, like high internal heat levels of thermophilic desert reptiles, favor unbending protein structures. Na+/K+, ATPase is a lipoprotein compound that assumes an unmistakable part in osmoregulation and is vigorously impacted by hydrostatic strain. The hindrance of Na+/K+, ADPase is because of expanded pressure because of tension. The rate-restricting step of the Na+/K+, ADPase response actuates an extension in the bilayer encompassing the protein, and hence an expansion in volume. An expansion in volume makes Na+/K+, ATPase reactivity powerless to higher tensions. Despite the fact that the Na+/K+, ADPase action per gram of gill tissue is lower for remote ocean fishes, the Na+/K+, ADPases of remote ocean fishes display a lot higher resistance to hydrostatic tension contrasted with their shallow water partners. This is exemplified between the species C. acrolepis, around 2,000 m per pound, and its hadopelagic partner C. armatus, around 4,000 m per pound, where the Na+/K+, ADPases of C. armatus are substantially less delicate to pressure. This protection from strain can be made sense of by variations in the protein and lipid moieties of Na+/K+, ADPase. Amazon rainforest, enormous tropical rainforest possessing the waste bowl of the Amazon waterway and its feeders in northern South America and covering an area of 2,300,000 square miles, 6 million square kilometers. Involving around 40% of Brazil's all-out region, it is limited by the Guiana high countries toward the north, the Andes Mountains toward the west, the Brazilian focal level toward the south, and the Atlantic Sea toward the east. Amazonia is the biggest stream bowl on the planet, and its woodland extends from the Atlantic Sea in the east to the timberline of the Andes in the west. The woods enlarges from a 200-mile (320 kilometers) front along the Atlantic to a belt 1,200 miles (1,900 kilometers) wide where the swamps meet the Andean lower regions. The colossal degree and extraordinary coherence of this rainforest is an impression of the great precipitation, high moistness, and tediously high temperatures that win in the locale. The Amazon rainforest is the world's most extravagant and most shifted organic repository, containing a few million types of bugs, plants, birds, and different types of life, many still unrecorded by science. The rich vegetation incorporates a wide assortment of trees, including numerous types of myrtle, shrub, palm, and acacia, as well as rosewood, Brazil nut, and elastic tree. Superb wood is outfitted by the mahogany and the Amazonian cedar. Significant natural life incorporates panther, manatee, ungulate, red deer, capybara, and numerous different sorts of rodents, and a few kinds of monkeys. In the 20th 100 years, Brazil's quickly developing populace settled significant region of the Amazon rainforest. The size of the Amazon woods shrank decisively because of pioneers' leeway of the land to acquire amble and to make brushing fields and farmland. Brazil holds roughly 60% of the Amazon bowl inside its nation, and exactly 1,583,000 square miles, 4,100,000 square kilometers, of this was shrouded by woodlands in 1970. How much woods covered declined to nearly 1,283,000 square miles, 3,323,000 square kilometers, by 2016, around 81% of the area that had been shrouded by timberlands in 1970. During the 1990s, the Brazilian government and different worldwide bodies started endeavors to safeguard portions of the timberland from human infringement, double dealing, deforestation, and different types of obliteration. In spite of the fact that Brazil's Amazon keeps on losing backwoods cover, the speed of this misfortune declined from generally 0.4% each year during the 1980s and 90s to generally 0.1 to 0.2% each year somewhere in the range of 2008 and 2016. Notwithstanding, around 75,000 flames happened in the Brazilian Amazon during the main portion of 2019, an increment of 85% north of 2018, generally because of support from Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, a solid defender of tree clearing. In 2007, Ecuador started a one-of-a-kind intent to safeguard a part of the woods inside its nation, which lies in Yasuni Public Park, laid out 1979, one of the world's most biodiverse locales. The Ecuadorian government consented to renounce improvement of weighty oil stores, worth an expected $7.2 billion, underneath the Yasuni rainforest in the event that different nations and confidential benefactors contributed half of the store's worth to an UN-controlled trust reserve for Ecuador. In 2013, notwithstanding, Ecuador deserted the arrangement, after just $6.5 million had been raised toward the finish of 2012. By 2016, the state oil organization Petroecuador had started to penetrate and remove petrol from the recreation area. Birds. Principal article: Birds of the Amazon. There are in excess of 1,500 sorts of birds living in the Amazon. 5. Like hummingbirds, channel-charged toucan, huatzin, and macaws. 6. In one locales of Peruvian Amazon, there are around 575 sorts of birds are found in just a 5,500 hectare section. 7. In November to spring, a few birds will move from focal American to South American subjects. Other are precisely found in Amazon. 7. The majority of the birds are living in covert thick of Amazon woods since they are searching for bugs from rainforest floor to the shade. Some incline toward flying bugs, or products of the soil, similar to shrew hawk will catch different warm-blooded creatures and reptiles and birds. Warm-blooded creatures. There are around 427 various types of well-evolved creatures living in Amazon. 8. With the vast majority of them being bats and rodents. 9. Remembering the biggest rat for the world, the capybara, which can gauge as much as 200 pounds, 91 kilograms. 10. In Amazon woodland well-evolved creatures are on both ground, trees, and the air. The wilderness are loaded up with a variety of various animal groups. At the point when individuals show up Amazon woods, they can take a gander at the tallest trees and they can track down sloths. Sloths are one of the Amazon most normal warm-blooded animals. Amazon woodland. The Amazon rainforest covers an area of 7 million square kilometers and is the biggest rainforest on Earth, extending more than 9 nations: Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. 15 Around 60% of the Amazon timberland lies in Brazil, and the other 40% has a place with nations as of now mentioned. 9 The Amazon rainforest has a very high biodiversity and numerous species have not yet been depicted. Assessments of the quantity of plant and creature species change generally. As indicated by a new distribution by the World Untamed Life Asset, WWF, the Amazon rainforest contains around 40,000 plant species, 427 warm-blooded creature species, 1294 bird species, 378 types of reptiles, 427 types of creatures of land and water, and 3,000 types of fish. These are least figures as new species are persistently being discovered. 16. The Amazon rainforest is portrayed by elevated degrees of precipitation. Accordingly, the scene is green consistently. The Amazon rainforest can be partitioned into various vegetation types. The biggest part comprises of land firme woodlands or dry land. 17 This sort of Amazonian backwoods that isn't yet upset by people is overwhelmed by trees, which can develop as high as 50 m, and in view of the absence of light, the vegetation of the timberland floor is open and accessible. 18 Other than land firme, the Amazonian locale has two sorts of timberland that are occasionally immersed: the Agapo woods and the Várzea forest. 19. 20 The Agapo timberland comprises of plant species developing along the dark water streams that have high centralizations of humid corrosive, which decide a particular sort of vegetation around it. 21. 22 The Várzea backwoods develops along the white water streams that convey rich dregs from the volcanic Andes Mountains, and has the most elevated grouping of species variety of Amazonia. Deforestation is the main danger to the Amazon rainforest. The majority of the deforestation happened wrongfully, and the Brazilian government has enormous challenges in carrying out the condition of regulation in the Amazon bowl as a result of the huge distances to be covered. The troubles in safeguarding the Amazon rainforest from deforestation cause an irreversible loss of important synthetic and organic data, which is central for the information on this wild patrimony, and hence for its protection and supportable use. For instance, the synthetic variety of plant types of this district comprises a strong wellspring of natural mixtures valuable in growing new medications. Camu is well known as a well-being supplement for its cell reinforcement properties. Camu for the most part fills an overflowed region of the Amazon rainforest in Peru, Brazil, Colombia, and Venezuela, where its foods grown from the ground are utilized for restorative purposes. Regular well-being fans guarantee that Camus has antiviral properties that can assist with mouth blisters, herpes, shingles, and the normal cold. Mila et al., 2017b. A characteristic energy sponsor is perfect for your eyes and gums. A teaspoon of Camus powder has 1.180% of our suggested everyday admission of L-ascorbic acid. Camus berry is well known as a top superfruit assortment obtained from one of the most healthfully thick district of the world. Camus contains a full range of cell reinforcements, amino acids, and bioflavonoids as well as various other significant nutrients and minerals, including calcium, iron, niacin, phosphorus, riboflavin, thiamine, and potassium. It is additionally a successful superfruit for eyes, skin as well as cerebrum capability, aiding the security against immune system, degenerative, and neurodegenerative problems like constant weakness, macular degeneration, and dementia. Sanchez Pimienta et al., 2016. The Acicama berry is an old natural product that can be tracked down in South America and Focal America. It tends to be found in countries like Belize and Brazil. ACI berry becomes on the ACI palm tree. It supports the resistant framework, further develops mindset and emotional well-being, lessens irritation, works on liver well-being, and furthermore has antiviral and anti-aging property. Camus is especially successful in battling bright skin harm from the sun. High dosages of L-ascorbic acid can cause stomach-related upset including the runs, queasiness, and spewing. Ferreira-Pigo et al., 2016. Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest is all around the world perceived as one of the best and most extravagant tropical timberlands regarding region and biodiversity, Malley et al., 2008. It is otherwise called a horde of streams and waterways joining to shape the Amazon stream, the biggest stream on the planet as far as water release, Gibbs, 1972. It covers practically 25% of South America and it reaches out into 9 nations with around 7.5 million square kilometers, with over 70% of tropical rainforest species and 33% of the world's germplasm being confined to this biome. It is viewed as one of the last ceaseless augmentations of muggy tropical woodlands of Earth, Fernside, 2005, Sentiani et al., 2011. As a general rule, the environment is portrayed by warm temperatures, going from 24 to 27 degrees Celsius the entire year, high precipitation, around 3,200 millimeters per year, and high relative stickiness, from 80% to 94%, over time, being named a moist and semi-hot central biome, FAO, 2015. Our planet Earth is home to a large number of residing creatures. From miniature organic entities and microorganisms, lichens to banyan trees, elephants, and blue whales, there is an immensely large number of living organic entities tracked down on the Earth. Tragically, individuals today have changed nature and untamed life into an asset. They acquire various items straightforwardly and by implication from the timberlands and natural life like wood, barks, leaves, elastic, prescriptions, colors, food, fuel, grub, fertilizer, and so on, which exhausted our backwoods and natural life. As said by Gandhiji, the world has enough for everybody's need except insufficient for everybody's covetousness. In spite of knowing and understanding this reality, we don't try it. Subsequently, our regular assets are at a consistent gamble of exhaustion. Along these lines, here we'll learn about timberland and untamed life specifically. We should figure out more about timberland and untamed life assets. Arrangement of species. The Worldwide Association for Preservation of Nature and Normal Assets, IUCN, has arranged plants and creatures arranged by the presence. Typical species. This incorporates species whose populace levels are viewed as typical for their endurance, like steers, sow, pine, rodents, and so on. They are consequently called the typical species. Jeopardized species. This incorporates species that are at risk for elimination, thus called the imperiled species. For instance, dark buck, crocodile, Indian wild ass, and so on. Weak species. This incorporates species whose populace has declined to levels from where it is probably going to move into the imperiled class soon. For models, blue sheep, Asiatic elephants, Gangetic dolphins, and so on. Intriguing species. This incorporates species with a little populace. They could move into the jeopardized or weak classification on the off chance that the right estimates aren't taken. For instance, Himalayan earthy-colored bears, wild Asiatic bison, desert fox, hornbill, and so on. Endemic species. This incorporates species that are just found in a few specific regions that are typically disengaged by regular or topographical hindrances. For instance, Andaman greenish-blue, Nicobar pigeon, Andaman wild pig, Mithun in Arunachal Pradesh. Terminated species. Moreover, there are a few wiped-out animal types. This incorporates species that are not found after searches of known or possible regions where they might happen. For instance, the Asiatic cheetah, pink-head duck, and so on. Reasons for consumption of the greenery. There are various variables that have prompted the consumption of greenery. These include moving development, overpopulace, mining, huge scope advancement projects, rushing and fuel wood assortment. Purposes behind a decrease in India's biodiversity. A portion of the reasons that have prompted a decrease in the biodiversity of India are overabuse, backwoods fires, hunting, natural surroundings annihilation, harming, poaching, ecological contamination, protection of woods and natural life in India. Protection is important to safeguard the biological variety in our life, emotionally supportive networks like air, water, and soil. In light of the traditionalist interest, the Indian Untamed Life Assurance Act came right into it in the year 1972. This act gave a few arrangements for safeguarding territories. Wildlife. Natural life can be tracked down in all biological systems. Deserts, fields, prairies, forests, backwoods, and different regions, including the most evolved metropolitan regions, all have particular types of natural life. While the term in mainstream society as a rule alludes to creatures that are immaculate by human variables, most researchers concur that much untamed life is impacted by human exercises. Some untamed life undermines human security, well-being, property, and personal satisfaction. Be that as it may, numerous wild creatures, even the perilous ones, have worth to individuals. This worth may be monetary, instructive, or close to home in nature. People generally would separate progress from untamed life in various ways, including legitimate, social, and moral defects. A few creatures, in any case, have adjusted to rural conditions. This incorporates such creatures as wild felines, canines, mice, and rodents. A few religions proclaim specific creatures to be hallowed, and in current times, worry for the regular habitat has incited activists to challenge the double dealing of natural life for human advantage or diversion. Worldwide natural life populaces have diminished by 68% beginning around 1970 because of human action, especially overconsumption, populous development, and concentrated cultivating, as per a 2020 World Natural Life Assets Living Planet report and the Zoological Society of London's Living Planet Record Measure, which is additional proof that people have released a sixth mass elimination occasion. As indicated by refers to, it has been assessed that every year the worldwide natural life exchange adds up to billions of dollars and it influences a huge number of creature and plant examples. The Amazon is an unquestionably extraordinary spot. It is the world's biggest tropical jungle and stream framework, and the most organically assorted put on the planet. It contains a huge number of animal groups, a large portion of them still undescribed. Both Amazon's backwoods and freshwater frameworks are in danger. Since the year 2000, precipitation has declined across 69% of the Amazon timberland. WWF gauges that 27% of the Amazon biome will be without trees by 2030, assuming the ongoing pace of deforestation proceeds. Safeguarding and rationing the Amazon is no simple errand, yet WWF has been attempting to save this significant spot. a big part of the planet's leftover tropical woodlands, 4,100 miles of winding streams, and 2.6 million square miles in the Amazon Bowl. In excess of 30 million individuals, including 350 native and ethnic gatherings, live in the Amazon and rely upon nature for agribusiness, clothing, and customary medications. There is likewise a reasonable connection between the soundness of the Amazon and the strength of the planet. The tropical jungles, which contain 90 billion to 140 billion metric lots of carbon, assist with balancing out nearby and worldwide environments. The Amazon likewise siphons around 7 trillion tons of water each year into the climate, and its timberlands reuse 75% of yearly precipitation back into the air. The Amazon faces numerous dangers, including deforestation from broad cow farming and agrarian extension, foolish foundation, unlawful and impractical normal asset extraction, and environmental change. WWF has been attempting to secure and save Amazon for more than 40 years. WWF attempts to stand up to the drivers of deforestation, similar to soy cultivating, cow farming, hydropower, unlawful and impractical logging, and foundation. WWF and our accomplices sent off a methodology called task money for lastingness in Brazil to safeguard 150 million sections of land of the Brazilian Amazon. We joined public and confidential elements to raise $215 million to make, solidify, and keep an organization of 114 safeguarded regions. The organization, called the Amazon Locale Safeguarded Regions Program, is just multiple times bigger than all U.S. public parks consolidated. Presently, WWF is trying the very approach for the safeguarded region frameworks in a few different nations that are significant for preservation, including Peru, Bhutan, and Colombia. Environmental change takes steps to upset the organizations of water and woodlands natural life relies upon. Hotter temperatures and less precipitation have delivered dry spells of memorable extents. The Amazon experienced its most horrendously terrible dry spells of 100 years in 2005 and 2010. Long droughts will crops, demolish fisheries, and lead to backwoods fires. This can bring about huge changes in the cosmetics of environments and a deficiency of animal types. WWF assists ranchers with safeguarding their harvests from extreme precipitation and dry seasons and guarantee close by natural life regions can adjust to a hotter world. There are numerous ways you can assist with safeguarding Amazon. You can instruct your loved ones about the significance of the Amazon. You can turn into an insightful client, ask how your food and different buys have been delivered, and purchase items with the FSC mark. You can lessen your utilization of petroleum derivatives and your effect on the world. You can likewise support the Amazon people groups by sharing their accounts and discussing natural worries.